pandemic got us into a reflective space and made us look inward to see what we can do for the world at large. As a self-expression coach, I became a catalyst for women and started Vani, a one-on-one coaching program for women on finding their voice, to speak up, to be visible. As a storyteller, I spotted there were many ordinary people amongst us leading extraordinary lives, making a difference to the world, and they needed to be heard. Thus was born You and I with Rashmi Shetty, where amazing personal journeys with their uniqueness and individuality are showcased, a reaffirmation of the fact: open your eyes wider. The world is far more beautiful when we acknowledge the presence of both you and I. Our guest today is Ruchi Singh, a United Nations speaker, leadership and communications mentor, award-winning HR professional, international keynote speaker, talk show host, United Nations SDG Ambassador India. She is also a special executive committee member, social work and entrepreneurship of the MSME Chamber of Commerce and Industry of India. Ruchi takes a stand for humanity by creating domestic violence awareness by sharing her story of survival. She further says, whenever I share my story, I touch a life, create discussions, and change in the right direction. Listen in as she shares her journey and states very clearly, when you make your choices, you are actually creating the story of your life. So it is thanks to the LinkedIn Creator Accelerator program that I got to meet another amazing human being like you. And I love the work that you do, the interviews that you host, and overall what you carry. A calmness which is so beautiful. Ruchi, welcome to You and I with Rashmi Shetty.
Thank you so much, Rashmi. And the way you introduced me was so different, so different from how I'm usually introduced. Glad to be here and glad to be doing this with you. And I don't know if your audience, I'm sure your audience has noticed this, and I keep telling you that you have such a soothing, sweet voice, which we need in today's turmoil. We need that.
So sweet of you. But today it's all about you, Ruchi, not me. Was the little Ruchi Singh the same sweet girl? I'm very curious to know what your childhood was to the Ruchi Singh that the world knows you today as.
All right. So the kid Ruchi Singh was very, very naughty, because even now they're like, oh, Ruchi, naughty. So I was a very naughty kid. My childhood was tough. I think dreams are made of, right? So I had a golden childhood. My father is a retired army officer. And the best thing about being an army kid is, you have all the fun, especially when you're very young, without the stresses what your father is going through. And I will say father as of now, because please understand, when my father was in the army, there were no women officers other than doctors. So that time it was only men who were officers. So I keep saying father, so please don't get offended by it, but that's the reality of my life that time. So we were not aware of what our dads were going through, and but we had all the fun and traveling. I have traveled to places where I'm sure Google Map will not work. You will not find those places. I had a very beautiful childhood, and I'm very blessed. My parents are extremely loving, and I have two siblings, a sister and a brother. So it was beautiful. That's what I was. And one thing which I did not realize then, but it has come in very handy all my life, is when we travel, we travel within India, but we are traveling from one state to another. We are mixing on a daily basis with people from different states, different views, different religion, and it makes your mindset so broad unknowingly. And it also makes you very adaptable, because every 2 years your dad is getting posted out and you have to change your school, your teachers, your friends, your house, everything. So you become very resilient from your very childhood without even realizing that. and that has come in very handy to me in my later life.
So, what are the different cities that you have seen in the process? But more than that, how was Ruchi finding herself in each of those cities? Were you a very talented kid? You're a naughty kid, all right, but talented in singing, dancing, and extracurricular apart from academics? How did your entire schooling?
Okay, so I'm a product of Kendriya Vidyalaya because army kids have just three options. One, you can be in a hostel, which I didn't want to go, and my mom couldn't have survived without us. Like then after that, we have two options: Kendriya Vidyalaya or army school. So we stuck to Kendriya Vidyalaya, and it was fun. See, I'll be honest. Whenever you move places, you're moving your school, your teachers, you have to keep proving yourself again and again. I didn't find it very difficult. In fact, to be honest, after 2 years, I used to be like, let's move to another place. Let's find new people, new experiences. I was a good student. I know, especially on social media right now, it's cool to talk about how I failed and all. Yes, I have had my share of failures, but academically, I was always top of the class, and curriculum wise I was good. I don't know, I think I'm blessed. I always had very good friends, I had good teachers. You will come across people who are not so nice, you will come across kids who are not so nice, but overall mostly I've found people are good. They are as scared or nervous as you are, and if you just be yourself and you don't want to, if you're not being mean as a child, because I was a popular kid, so if you're just being nice to everyone, people will be nice to you, and that makes life more fun. See, with my childhood, I will keep saying this word fun. Although I'll be honest, army also has a very harsh side to it. So my dad was posted in Amritsar, and that time the terrorism was at its peak, and I was in seventh standard or something. For the first time, I realized what fear is. I'm getting goosebumps even now. So we were not allowed to go out of the cantonment. It was unthinkable, and if we went in a jeep, jonga, so we would have a proper one ton. I don't know how to put it. It's like a small truck filled with army soldiers with their armed like Sten guns and whatever. Whenever my dad used to be out there, I remember my mom used to keep pacing till the time he used to come back safely home. We lost people, and terrorism is terrible. I still remember when I'd gone to school one day. There was this girl. I don't know her. I don't even remember her name. The way she shouted, like the scream. Even now, I remember that scream because her father was a cop and he was shot dead by terrorists. And you'll not be able to see the goosebumps here, but it's been ages and ages. So, yes, that also was a part of my childhood. Death is a very real thing when you are in army, when your dad is in army, and now even women are and joining army, and that's a good thing. When we used to go out, I remember once there was a cycle which was parked slightly away from the jeep we were sitting in, and it had a package kind of a thing. That bag, that corduroy bag, you cannot imagine the fear. And I think I was 11 or 12. I was so scared, so terrified that it had a bomb because it was happening daily, that I like, and my parents had gone shopping, leaving me and my sister there. It was not safe for us. And I forced my driver Bhaiya to go and check. I said, Bhaiya, please go and check if there is a bomb. And that should not be any child's reality, but it was. So, yes, that is another side of army I have seen. And that makes me extremely proud of my dad. One of the things I'm most proud of in my life, Rashmi, is that I'm an army officer's daughter. Indian Army has shaped me, has had a lot of influence in shaping who I am today. And I am extremely proud of the fact that my father was was an officer in the Indian Army, and he did his bit for the country. He served in a lot of insurgency in Kashmir and all that. So yes.
Wow, and this is so true. Over the years, I've met a lot of army children. And one thing I notice, especially in the girls because I studied in an all girls school in college, one common trait I notice in the girls is the levels of confidence that they have. And one common streak I noticed, like you said at the beginning, it is that resilience to just put in your best foot forward because you never know when change will come. I think you all see the the dictum that change is the only constant in life very
Yeah.
early in life. So,
Yes, yes.
and I think that's what makes you all so very confident as women. So as you move into womanhood, you just bloom into beautiful, confident women. So that is one output I have seen of army girls. For sure. And I agree with everything that you say. That's so true. And those of us in the civilian side will not know these important but layered lives that army families lead. That is so true. Being a good student, Ruchi, did it very naturally pull you into science stream after your 10th standard?
Oh,
And did you follow the crowd or did you
no,
bring?
no, no, no. So I'll tell you, it's so funny. So I did very well. I had got, I think I'd got, and you have to keep in mind that time it was not very easy to score 90%,
Yeah,
99, right?
yeah.
So I got, I think, 89% in science, and I chose arts, not even commerce, arts. My father was called by the principal. Colonel Sahab, अपनी daughter को समझाइए, she's saying she'll take arts. Like, can you imagine? I'm a 10th standard student. The principal is upset that I'm taking arts. And my parents are very chilled that way. They're like, if she wants to study arts, it's okay. I had to change my school. I was in Kendriya Vidyalaya. So there were two Kendriya Vidyalaya at Tejpur, and then I had to shift to Kendriya Vidyalaya Air Force. So I did my 11th, 12th. Not that the principal was being mean or something, it was just too much pressure. Teachers were shocked when I joined there. They used to look at my marks and they're like, why are you doing arts? And it was so difficult for even the teachers to come around to the thinking that I am doing arts because maybe I enjoy arts. And I faced a lot of flack, not from my family. My family is chill. From my friends and from others, like, why is she not doing science or commerce? भाई नहीं करना है मुझे, arts करना है, मेरे माँ बाप खुश हैं, what's your problem? So, and I'm very grateful that I had this kind of family, because I have seen children who are miserable and they're just very young, right? 15, I don't remember, 15, 16, and they are miserable because they are forced to do something which is not their choice, and that choice impacts a lot of our later year choices. And then you're also, living someone else's dream, because what if I didn't want to be a doctor, and let's assume my mom had this dream, she didn't, that now my daughter will become a doctor. It is very unfair, because it's a very good profession, but maybe it's not for me. Maybe I just want to do arts. So I think parents have to really, when it comes to dreams, have the capability to fulfill your own dreams. And if you have failed there, please do not put the burden on your child, because people, a lot of parents, because we have seen, you see, suicides and all, that's terrible. Everyone, whether they have done nothing in life, they want their child to do IIT, become a CEO. Seriously, dude. I mean, if that is so good, you didn't make it to IIT or IIMs, then why are you forcing your child to do that? And I did well. I am doing well in life, and I chose arts, and it was a choice, and it was not like I am not getting anything and I am doing arts. No, I was actually forced to take science, and I took arts, and it turned out very well.
When you say this, what I can see is the courage you hold. Parents apart, encouragement from them apart. It it takes a lot of courage from within for you to face all the flack for choosing arts over science. But what was your influence to choose arts? Was it that you liked history, geography, and so wanted to pursue in that space? Or was it economics? What was the subjects that drew you to arts that made you realize that that's going to be what you're going to study?
Okay, so I was just, I think, 15, 16. So you're not thinking, that long. I just knew one thing very clearly, that I was good at science, right? Like, people used to struggle with physics. I found physics easy. I found chemistry easy. I love bio, but I loved history more. So I'm a history honors, actually, from Loreto House. So I loved history. I enjoyed it, and I had a talk with my parents, and I said, "See, I don't want to become an engineer. That would be my nightmare. My brother is an engineer, so I don't mean anything disparaging, but it was not for me, and I didn't want to be a doctor. So I said, then why should I focus on that? Let me study history, and then we'll see. I had no plans. Even in now in life, I made plans, and look what I'm doing now. I would have never thought I'd be doing this. So I knew I didn't want to do arts and commerce. That I was 100% sure. So I was like, let me do arts because I enjoy history. I was a good student overall, other than maths. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I never thought that I was being courageous, but for me, it was like I have to live the consequences, right? Like if I do not like maths, which I didn't, it's a miracle that I never failed maths, right? It's a miracle. But I would have passed, but I would have been miserable. So my choice, I think, rather than being courageous, was like, do I need to be miserable just to make my friends think I'm cool? I was always very confident about that I am loved by my family, my parents, my sister, my baby brother. And I've always had good friends, even if they were like for 2 years, I've had good friends.
But in hindsight, this is something that occurs to me because 15, 16 is also the time of peer pressure, of validation from outside, that it plays a big role on very stupid, silly decisions from what I wear to what I do. So that's why I'm asking you that question. But then, not surprised because maybe you had good history teachers. Because when it comes to history as a subject, I feel that's one subject that's neglected a lot, but if studied well, that's a subject that connects us to who we are and where we came from.
It's
So,
actually not my teachers, no. It was my father and my mom. My father is one of the most well-read person I know. Like he just knows stuff. So when I was say 10-year-old, I could actually hold a intelligent conversation on balkanization, right? I don't know how many 10 or 11-year-old kids knew the word, but I knew it because, and it was never, like it wasn't like chalo ab hum padhenge cold war. No, my parents used, our house was this. So my father is like one of the most well-read people I know. My mom, she's a MA in Sanskrit. So for my mom, yes, she would not know about Cold War, but she knew our literature. She knew about our Quran and like Kalidas. So my father knew all that also. So they used to have discussions like normal discussion. Oh, did you see what Nirala wrote or Dinkarji wrote? So for me, these were names I grew up with. Or did you know Netaji ne kya kiya? And then on one side, my father would be discussing uh, in depth balkanization and Cold War and Second World War. I grew up with that. My house has more than 1,000 books, and that is why, because it would have been more, but we were traveling, so my father used to give away. Yes, I think it was mostly my dad, because of which I love history.
so moving on, Loreto, you did your honors.
Graduation.
Then post that, what happened? How did you carry that forward? Did you move on to do post graduation as well?
Yes, I'm an MBA from Symbiosis Institute of Management Studies. So
After history, you did an MBA.
yes, yes. So, okay. Okay, this I've never shared in any interview. Okay, so I finished my graduation. I did well. I was like, this is very unlike me. Okay, so I said, I've been away from my home. I want to come home. And then I said, now I don't want to do anything. My parents, my mom has always maintained that women should always work, they should have their own money. So my mom, she had also gotten through like the professor because she's an MA in Sanskrit, but she made a conscious choice to leave that because my father was traveling 2 years, then they would not have had a personal life that per se. So, but she's always maintained. Now they got worried. Array, now she's saying she'll not study. She wants to get married. And I'm very young that time, right? So finally, my sister, she filled in all the forms, my MBA forms. I did nothing, no cat, nothing. I didn't study. She said, Didi, I filled these forms. Please come and give the exams. And I'm like, oh God, I have to give this exam. Okay, I'll come give the exams. I was sure I'll not pass, but somehow I passed. I made it through a lot of colleges. And then I said, okay, let me do MBA. So I'm telling you, best laid plans. Yeah. So yes. So I did my MBA and I loved it.
This is so bizarre. After being somebody so clear about history that you did an MBA, and what was your specialization in MBA? Don't say finance now.
No, no, no. Marketing. I love marketing. I will always be a marketer at heart.
Okay,
I
okay.
love marketing. I love brands. So see, when I did history, I was not thinking career wise. I was like, I love history. And my logic was this: everything in this life is history. Like right now, what's happening?
Yeah.
Things like INS Vikrant or, Russia Ukraine war, they are going to be studied sometime in future. That is going to shape the future. So history is, you have to know history, whether if you're finance, you need to know the history of how the Wall Street or
Hmm.
wherever you're working, everything has a history. So I did it because I liked history. I'm telling you, if people come to me thinking, oh my gosh, she'll give, these are the 7 secrets of success, they'll be majorly disappointed. So yes, and I love I love branding. I read a lot and I enjoy it. And I was like this. So when I joined my MBA, I was like, okay, which is the most prestigious brand in the world? So that time it was Coca-Cola. So I said, then I want Coca-Cola on my CV. And everyone told me that Coca-Cola only goes to IIM. I said, all right. So Ruchi, don't try. Even my seniors. I said, fair enough. I got Coke. I was the first one from Sims to have an internship in Coca-Cola. And that to not say is marketing. I pestered them so much. I used to drive my scooty from my college to Coke. Coke that time had office, which was like far, far away. I'm very bad with distance, but like assume that it was at least 45 minutes away. I used to go there every day, sit in their reception. Everyone knew me by name, by that. And then finally, the brand manager of Coca Cola, I think he just took me. He's like, इससे पीछा छुड़ाने के लिए से हम internally ले लेते हैं. So that's how I got Coke.
Okay.
So I was like that. बोले Coke चाहिए तो Coke ही चाहिए. वो लेके रहेंगे. So I did that and I loved it.
Okay, so the tenacity, the resilience, all of those learnings only got further more visible for you now when you look back on how your journey has gone and from where you get that grit and the determination to do what you want to do. So, post that internship with Coke, what and how did life open out?
Okay, let me tell you. So now this is going to lead to the first major failure of my life. Okay. So when I do something, I'm like this. I decided, I don't want to study, get married. That didn't work out because my parents refused to get me married at that age, and I'm very grateful to them. So then I was like, now I have to do well. करना है तो अच्छा करना, नहीं करना है तो नहीं करना. So I got 0 day campus placement, and I was one of the highest paid people in the campus. So I got the highest placement, one of the highest placements that year. And first company I sat for, I got the offer. That time, once you get placed, you can't really, unless you turn it down, you can't really sit for others. And I was shortlisted for a lot of other brands which I really wanted, right? Like with Ogilvy and Meta and all that. Now I took this offer because for the wrong reasons. I was like, oh my god, I'm so cool, 0 day campus placement, mera naam likha hai Ruchi Singh. It's a big deal to get 0 day campus placement. First company I sat for, and one of the highest, like, although that was the first day, 0 day, but we knew, means like काफी ज़्यादा है. So I took it. It was more like a ego thing. Ego thing, nahi, show off maybe. I don't know. But I was very young. I was, I think, 21 or 22. I forget. But that age. And I took it. And it was the wrong decision because the job that I had picked up, the moment I took it, and once that thing wears off, when you do something for the wrong reasons, after a while, the reality, I'm like, oh my god, I'm not even interested in this sector. Abhi kya karu? And my heart was like always with Ogilvy and ads and all that. I did not join that company. I did not go back to my college to tell them I'm not joining, can you help me find another job? No, because when you're very young, everything is very black and white. I'm like, people will say what a loser Ruchi Singh is. Abhi to 0 day campus placement. Now she's like job ही नहीं join करना. So you see, all those things I let it make a very big impact on my future career.
Okay.
Right. So, in hindsight, that is one of my biggest failures. And I saw it just when my career was starting. So, from a high 0 day campus place, my name is written on the board and all that, to actually not joining that company. And then I had to struggle to find another job because I was egoistic enough to not go back to my college and say, hey, can you help me? I didn't want my friends to know nothing. It was like, पता नहीं कितनी बड़ी गलती हो गई जिंदगी में types. But I am glad in the sense that I joined a startup and I did well. I did joined a startup. It was in the field of recruitment, and I did well. So my career changed from branding to recruitment, and I did very well here. But see, if I was not egoistic enough at that time, I could have because the placement went on and on for 4 5 months, and I got placed in December. So I had a lot of time to tell my teachers or my friends that, but the ego and coming across as a failure actually made me lose out on a very good opportunity. So yes, that was a huge learning for me. Then what? Then I joined this, and then I put my heart. If I do something, I'll give my best. I put my heart into it, and then my last corporate role was I was heading the offshore two offshore units for Aviva India as the talent management head. I'm very proud to say, even though I was the manager, I was the only manager. I was the only person who was fully billable by the clients, and I was in HR, not even my boss. I led the recruitment transition and I transitioned 5 different locations. So that was brilliant. And then I left. I said, now I'm bored.
After how many years?
10, 11,
Okay.
12 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Like not with the same company, but in the
Yeah,
corporate.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yes. But I have made this thing. I never leave when I'm not doing well. That time my promotion was through. When I put down my papers, the CEO called me and she said, if you want to take a month's break, if you're burnt out, if you want to move to training, we'll do that. And I'm very grateful to her. But I was just tired. So, but I was feeling that for a few months, but I wanted to finish the transition and then leave. So, yeah.
And what was happening on the personal front, Ruchi, in your personal life? Because by then I'm sure you were very eligible for marriage, and on the personal side, your parents must have started looking because your career is kind of steady now. So that is something that goes hand in hand with
Yes, of course.
every girl in the society.
So I got married. On paper, it looked very nice. I'm divorced now, so I'll call my ex. So ex was doing fantastically well. When I say fantastically well, I mean fantastically well. We moved to Sydney. Like people, when they used to come to our place, they'd be like, "Oh my God, you live in a 5 star. It was waterfront, and in Sydney, having a waterfront is the place is a big deal." He was very charming, very sophisticated, and suave. So that was there, and but then it was an abusive marriage, and I should have moved out sooner, but I didn't. And I've had this question asked by people, oh, why didn't you move out sooner? So that is why, even though you have not asked me, I want to address this. By now, if you have noticed, I am a confident person. I would like to think I'm a go getter, right? Not like shying away in the background kind of a person. But I also took it because violence is not just physical, it is emotional and psychological too. And sometimes the psychological angle makes you take more shit than you would because first it starts like someone does something wrong, and then that time you're fresh, right, in the relationship, or this has happened fresh. So if you're confident person, see, there would be some people who are naturally very sweet and timid and all that, so I do not know, but I think I'm a perfect example that domestic violence can happen to anyone. Right. I come from a very supportive and loving family. And I knew that if I had walked out, they would not have said, oh my God, beta, hum mar jayenge. I knew that would never happen. I had worked and I had my savings and all that. So it wasn't like if I walk out, I knew my parents will support me, and I had solid work experience behind me with very good network in the corporate world. And luckily, I had very good terms with my bosses. I've been very blessed to have mostly 99% good bosses. Very blessed that way. But I still took it because initially, when it starts, and you're like, okay, this is not acceptable, I'm leaving, the other person, will promise anything to make you stay back. They'll cry, they'll say, I'm going through this, please don't leave me, I need you. So for the longest time, I was under the impression that I'm the stronger one. I'm being strong for someone who appears to be strong in front of the world but is weak. So I'm like the savior, and that's a very dangerous place, right? Because domestic violence costs more life every year than even all the terrorist attacks combined in the world, right? Now, and then what happens is then the frequency starts increasing, and it is not just physical. They start chipping your confidence, like, oh, you're fat, you're not good looking, who were you talking to, what are you doing behind my back, things like that. And everyone is human, and after a while, if you're constantly being hammered on certain things, you start believing yourself, right? That is how terrorists are brainwashed to do anything, even suicide bombing, because that's the power of brain. And if someone can use it in a negative manner, it can have disastrous effect. So that is how it happens with the victims also. The reason why I'm sharing this is because there'll be a lot of women, a lot of children, and some men also go through domestic violence who would be struggling with this, but the world, instead of making it easy for them, will make it tougher by asking these questions. Oh, why did you leave? Why didn't you leave? I would have left. Dude, believe me, you wouldn't have left. Right? So it's not easy. And after a while, you start fearing that person. The moment that the foreign countries में you don't really have latches unless you pay for it. So वो जो key turn होती है, only I can't explain it. And if you've not gone through it, you'll not understand. Your heart stops beating. You you start living your life on eggshells. You don't want to be noticed in your own home, and that is not something any human being should go through. You're scared of even breathing uh, deeply because you just don't want to get any attention to yourself. You feel miserable if someone else compliments you because you know you will have to face repercussions back at home, right? So and at the same time, for a grown up person, it is very humiliating to reach out to people and say, hey, I'm going through this. And this I talk only for myself. If you have always been like a go-getter or achiever, someone who's been like, oh my god, Ruchi Singh, yeah, then it also gets very embarrassing to say, although it's not your fault, but that's why I said psychology plays a very big part in why we stay back, why we take a lot of shit. And this is not just domestic violence. I've had a lot of talks with people who have men who are doing fantastically well, are like in very senior position in corporate world, leaders who were sexually abused, and it traumatizes them and they cannot talk about it, right? Because again, somehow the victims are made to feel that it is their fault. Somehow it becomes embarrassing for them. We are made to believe that our story of pain is actually a story of shame, and it is so untrue. But we buy in that lie and we live that lie. And a lot of people live that lie till the day they die. So, yes, so if you feel, and it is very difficult to reach out, because when I took the courage to reach out, uh, people asked me things like, what did you do? And this was after my ex had actually tried to kill me by putting a knife to my throat. And that was one of the most traumatic events of my life, because I thought, this is it, I'm going to die. And so then when you reach out to someone and that person turns around and asks you, what did you do? So then somehow they're making it normal that there are certain circumstances when the other person can actually almost kill you. Even if they have not killed you, they have traumatized you for life because you did something. So those are not the right questions, and people who do that understand there is a term for it called victim bashing. So someone who's already going through a very traumatic time in their life, you are adding to that trauma, and there's no getting away from. Yes, I mean, and that is why a lot of victims don't reach out to people, because it is embarrassing, it is insulting. I was told by women, not men, women, saying that I don't like to cook. Okay, I am a good cook once in a blue moon, but I dislike cooking. They're like, if you can make fresh chapatis, Ruchi, can you believe it? I mean, you are traumatized enough to reach out, because it's not easy to go to the cops. And they are saying if you made proper chapatis, you'll not get beat up. And these are women who had their own businesses. They were driving around in Beamers, BMWs, right? So not people think ye bhi gaon mein hai. No, domestic violence cuts across race, religion, everything, first world countries to third world countries, everywhere it is there. It's like COVID, it can happen to anyone, right? So yes, I have forgotten, Rashmi, what your exact question was, but this is something I wanted to share, because chances are, statistically, 1 in 3 women will go through some kind of assault from their partner in their lifetime. Now, not everyone is going to face what I went through, but it is just very uncomfortable that I know so many people, so many women who are very successful, powerful women who had to go through, and it scars them for life. So, if you see something like that, or if someone reaches out, don't judge them, because they are in a very bad emotional, mental, fragile state of mind. Just, if you cannot do anything, if you can help, help. If you cannot do anything, don't make it worse.
Yeah, this is such an important topic because even during the pandemic, the number of domestic violence cases had drastically increased because everyone was cooped up at home, and the frustrations were taken on the lady of the house. And the National Women's Commission had brought out a report saying how many cases were reported, and left it to us to imagine how many more went unreported because of
Yes,
all the reasons that you are saying.
yes. It is
It,
called a silent epidemic.
yeah, it was the bigger epidemic, in fact, that many people did not address.
And
But
COVID has been brought into control, but domestic violence is still there, and it is going to be there till we do something.
yeah. So when you walked out of it, how did you decide to speak up and tell the world not to tolerate it, Ruchi? What gave you that power when you walked out of it and you decided to be a spokesperson, talking to women and telling the world about it? Because it takes, like I said, the same word I used for you, courage, which was there innately and is there in most of us. It's just that most of us don't even touch it. But you actually went back, reached out to the courage within, and did something so beautiful.
All right. One, my spirituality, meditation, and pranayam is something which is a daily part of my life. And for those 5 years, I was very conscious of the fact that I cannot have a mental breakdown, right? So I did not have the courage initially to walk out of my marriage, but I was also very sure that I do not want to emotionally, physically, yes, it is difficult because men are more powerful physically, but mentally I was like, no, I have to give it my best shot, and I did whatever I could do. And I was also going through a lot of chronic pain at that time, so it was difficult for me to sit for more than 5 minutes. Initially I had to go through a lot of therapy in Sydney. Like, I had to actually go to hydrotherapy to start physically getting active again, because I was hurt. And so the for me, you may not realize this, but for me to be able to sit for so long is a blessing. I had to work on it for years and years. So that was the I was in pain 24/7, physical pain 24/7, for 4 long years. And um, and on top of it, I was like, anyways, if you're physically in pain 24/7, I do not expect anyone to understand what it does to you. And I would not have understood if I had not gone through it, right? Uh, at the same time, I was going through a very, abuse, it is not a nice thing, right? And it scares you. So spirituality has played a very big part in keeping me sane, in keeping me move on so soon, right? Because I moved out in 2017, so it's not that it happened 20 years back. It's recent for me. So one was spirituality. Another was I was doing little things like whenever things used to, I'll give you a example. Okay, so there people used to have a lot of theme parties, spend a lot of money, buy dresses and all that. So I used to sometimes amuse myself by thinking, oh, let me invite all his friends and say the theme of the party is it's violent love story, things like that. So it's actually quite it is like dark humor, but rather than sitting and crying, that gave me, sometimes you, no matter how dark your life is, you owe it to yourself to try and find light. So my sense of humor, which is quite weird, but so these are the things I used to try and think, right? And then there were things like I used to continuously listen to these spiritual talks by Shri Ravi Shankar ji. He's my guru. And mind has to be taken care of. So if I was just thinking how bad I have it, or I was going, suppose, on YouTube and listening to everyone else's terrible story. I'm not talking about stories where people have come out of it and done something, but a lot of people are in it and they are sharing their pain. So then I would have added to my pain. So I was very conscious about these things, what I was watching and all that. And of course, crying, I've cried so much that I can also write crying expert. But anyways, so yeah, and then the last straw was when my ex actually put a knife, and it was a butcher's knife at my throat, and it was a cold winter's night in Sydney, and and when you're facing almost certain death, you it's it's funny. Life stops. At the same time, it moves very fast. I can't explain it, but that is what happens. And there were two things which I remember, because you'll be very surprised, Rashmi, about that day. There's still today. There's something which just comes out of blue, and I'm like, my mind has suppressed it, but then that happened. So, but remember two things very crystal clear. One was, I do not have to move at all. I have to be as still as I can be, because when we were kids, my dad had taught us that if you see a wild animal charging or something, you have to, like, don't run. uh, and the second was, I will never see my family back again. And even now it's very difficult for me to talk about this thing because it breaks me up. So those were the two things which I remembered, and I got lucky because he changed his mind, and if he had not changed his mind, I could not have done anything to save myself. He just indulged in stabbing my, I had a red exercise ball, the big one. So he just stabbed my red exercise ball to death. I'm glad it was that and not me. And then I ran out of the house, and I called his friends. I did not call the cops because going to cops is very difficult, or maybe for us Indians, I don't know. And you're very terrified and lost at that moment. And then slowly, I started thinking, and I used to anyways think, but that this kind of pushed me. And then I saw a news, I think few weeks down the line, because it is not a Hindi, it is not a movie where, this happens and I just walk out and next thing I'm standing at the UN stage. It doesn't work. Life doesn't happen like that. So I was with him after that. I did not still tell my parents. And I can't tell you how terrifying it was for me. I used to hide my phone, and I used to hide my landline, and the last number dialed used to be my parents. I used to not let it ring, but last number, so that I don't know what they could have done. In my mind, it was like, even if I'm dying, at least I can call them. And they were all the way back in India. And I used to try not to sleep. I was like, if I sleep, he'll stab me to death. And when it used to get too difficult, so I had a small picture of Guruji, Sri Ravi Shankar. I used to hold it in my hand and I say, Guruji, I can't keep awake anymore. Just keep me safe till morning. But I still did not walk out, right? So that is what I'm saying, how twisted it gets for the person who's going through it. And but then it was there, like, what am I doing? This is not what I've taken birth for. And then one day I saw news, like, it happens very frequently, and in Australia it's a very peaceful country, so such news make it to national news. Someone had stabbed his wife to death, and it came on the in the news, and I was like, oh my god, that could have been me. And I was like, do I want to be another statistic of domestic violence? Do I want to be in the national news for this? And I was like, no, something was like repulsed, right? And so that was like this question was like the turning point for me. And then I used to constantly ask myself that what if I died that night? Kya farak pad jata? My parents would have been sad, my sister, my brother, but then otherwise world ko kya farak padta? I would have not even been a name. I would have been a number, a domestic violence number, statistics, and I have not taken birth for that. So I was like, no, I have to make my life count. And these two things, Rashmi finally gave me the courage to come back to India, shared it with my parents, and I'm very grateful that they were 100% behind me. And then I said, I could have gone back to corporate because I was good at what I did and I had very good relationship. And I'm grateful to my boss. He's like, I would help you. Don't worry. We will pick you up like job wise. So, but I was like, no, my suffering cannot be just brushed under the carpet. I have been disrespected and hurt and almost killed. I'll be damned if I disrespect myself by saying, oh, it's okay. Then no, I have to do something about it. And I was like, I'll talk about it. And my parents were like, just be careful, we don't want you to get hurt because world can be quite cruel.
Yeah.
And a lot of people told us, oh Colonel Sahab, फिर इसकी शादी नहीं होगी, आप सोच रहे हैं, if she talks about this, people, especially men, will stay away from her, things like that. And like, who cares? Like, if I walked out of an abusive marriage, please believe me that I'm definitely not thinking, oh, let me find my Prince Charming, right? So I said I'll talk about it because somebody has to do something, and why should I wait for someone else to do it? I was like, I'll do it. And I started talking about it. And I was shit scared the first time I talked. It was an audience of 500 people, and there was media, telegraph, and all that. And I was so scared because talking about your personal life is like being stripped naked emotionally. And I'm a very private person. But I talked about it and I was nervous and I was scared that what if people are cruel to me? See, nobody is that tough ki agar if you shared something which has hurt you, traumatized you, and someone turns around and say, "Kya yaar, bore kar diya." Something like that also can hurt you. I'm human. I'm very human. So I was very scared that what if, and people had put this fear in my mind that men will hate me. So I was not like looking, oh, mujhe shadi karni, but I was scared. What if they, say this girl is terrible, like in the audience, I was scared of the reaction of the men. And it was shocking, the reaction. I could see people crying in the audience because I obviously I talked about it and I said, my story is not important just because it is my story, but it is important because it is the story of million women all over the world, and that is why it has to be heard. And I could see people crying, tearing up. And then there were people, they asked me questions. Then there were people who wrote secretly, anonymously, and they're like, I'm going through this. I'm worried for my daughter. My sister is going through this. Even now, every time I share, at least one or two people reach out to me on LinkedIn, and sometimes there are men who say, my mom went through it when I was a child. I am so grateful that you talk about this because she could not. So things like that. And that, for the first time, that was the day I realized the power of my story, because till then my thing was, I have to let people know how bad it is. But I was not thinking, oh, I will change the world. Oh, my story will help people. I was like, I just have to create awareness. But that the first speech I gave made me realize the power it had for people to open up, to people to share. Men, like, men have shared with me that they were sexually abused by their father's friend and all, and they would not have opened up to me if I was just a corporate lady. They know I understand pain. So that is how it took a life of its own, and I started my YouTube channel, Ruchi Singh Talks, which is very precious to me. It's a very emotional thing for me. Although I don't talk about, I have talked about domestic violence on it, but not too much. How much can you talk about domestic violence on a channel? But when I was going to, I also filed for divorce, right? So it was so difficult. I was fighting my divorce. I was doing something which was very traumatic, because every time I talk about it, people just hear that story. But for me, I remember everything else. And it is not easy for me to deal with it. And I'm being very honest here, because I want women mostly, or anyone who's going through shit, to understand that. People, when they pretend to be heroes and pretend that they don't feel anything, it's not the case. A lot of people say, oh, you're a hero, you're very courageous. Yes, maybe I am to them, but at the same time, I do it scared every time, right? So it's okay to be scared, but don't let anyone take away your dignity and self-respect. You owe it to yourself. So yes, so I started my YouTube channel, and the reason was this: every time I had a divorce hearing, it was very traumatizing. And so I thought, abhi kya karu? So I said, okay, let me create motivational videos, because when you're doing something nice, your mind after a while gets engrossed in that. So I was like, at least if I'm doing this, kisi ek bande ko to help ho jayegi. So I started doing that, and that's how Ruchi Singh Talk started. And it was also my way of showing the middle finger to all the people who said, don't talk, keep quiet, be sar jhuka ke reh lo, that kind of a thing. Just because I have gone through something terrible has happened to me, I should be made to suffer more. This is what society does to you. And I am just so grateful to my parents. I can't tell you. I mean, my parents have been my rock support. But they were like also pressurized. All they had this image, वो हिंदी फिल्म में पुराना होता था ना, wearing a white sari and बाल वो करके दुखी गाने गा रही. So something like that people had slotted me as. So my YouTube channel was also showing a middle finger to the people that I refuse to fight.
And today, the way you talk about it, the way you bring it out, is something I'm sure where many other women and men, like you say, have a space, a safe space where somebody understands them and what they're going through. It definitely is something that the world needed, and you became that medium for a lot of people. So that's where, when you shared it with us, it shook me. I had goosebumps when you shared it in the first meeting with all of us. As an, and still, with that as the base, she still smiles so beautifully and comes across so positively. So that's where, Ruchi, for me, my question here is, from where do you draw that positivity? Yes, you told me that your parents are your rock and you have a spiritual guru. But what is it that Ruchi tells Ruchi every morning when you wake up to be this positive person, to go out there and shine?
I wish I had a secret magic mantra, but there are days when I wake up in the morning, I have to give myself a reason to get out of the bed, right? But my thing is, you have two options. I can be in my bed and let life get to me, or I can do something about my life. My life has to count. So when I talk to myself, all right. So I am not talking very motivationally to myself. Oh, abhi to zindagi wo hai. I talk to myself like this. I actually say Ruchi Singh. For some reason, I always use my surname. So I'm like, Ruchi Singh. You'll be damned if you let other people pull you down. or things like this, and that motivates me. I'm like like I'll be damned if I have gone through this and I let this define me. I cannot be just known as someone, oh yeah, poor thing, she went through domestic violence. That cannot be the only thing people uh, connect with me. So things like that for me, my anger, not the anger where I'm like, oh, I hope something bad happens to my ex, not like that, I've forgiven him. But things like this, when I'm having a difficult day, and I do have difficult days even now, it's been 4 5 years, but there are times when I get nightmares, and it is very difficult for me to come out of it. So ultimately, meditation, pranayam, and this side of me, which is like, are you going to let someone else pull you down? Is this why you've taken birth? So my talk is slightly hard hitting. I'm like tough on myself, tough love, and that works for me. That works for me. And I think since I was always loved as a child and as a sister, I've always been loved. I'm very grateful to have good friends. So deep down, maybe that also pulls me through. But if I leave my meditation for too long, which I do sometimes, then it does take a toll on me, a bad toll on me.
This tough love that you just spoke about is something that all of us went through in the last 2 years with the pandemic.
Oh yes.
Have a choice. We were all pushed and forcefully asked to press a button called pause, where most of us reflected to see what life gave us and we were not even grateful for. What did the pandemic do to you, Ruchi? Because you were already in that space of reflection, wanting to make a difference. You've started that journey. How did the pandemic make anything different to you?
Okay, so I have this joke. So I was invited to give a keynote in the United Nations, and my speech was on 8th of February, right, in Bangkok. By the way, people, whoever is telling you to keep quiet, your life has come to an end, let me tell you, if you speak up, if you own your life, instead of being relegated to wearing a white sari and singing sad songs, chances are you'll be invited as a keynote speaker at the United Nations. So
Yeah.
don't let anyone pull you down. So I have this joke that I gave a speech and the world shut down because I was like, so yes, so for me it was also a shock because see, my new journey professionally also has started since 2018, right? And it's a very it's not just a professional journey for me. Everything has been new, my personal life, my professional life, even my professional life, what I was doing earlier, and now I'm a keynote speaker, so it's all very different. So it was finally coming on track with the UN and all, and then one tiny virus said, no, no, let me play spoil sport. So everything shut down. So my calendar was almost booked for the entire year. After that, it all got wiped out. So that was a huge sense of loss for me initially. I was very lucky. Okay, my sister had come with her baby, whom I adore, for a month from Singapore, and she got stuck because of the COVID thing. And then we were stuck, then the international borders were shut, then the visa issue, and she ended up staying 2 years with us.
Oh,
So not so good for my brother-in-law, but oh my god, I loved it. I spent 2 years with my baby nephew, who is like joy of my life. So like I said, even in the worst of situation, I feel I'm very lucky. So God was like, okay. So I had a gala time. I was saying no left, right, and center to everyone. Like, no, I'm so busy, I'm working on a project, and my project was playing with my baby nephew. And I do not I did miss out on some big opportunities, and I did miss out. Like, if I had utilized that time writing or something, maybe I would have moved ahead professionally. But I don't mind because I spend time with my baby. I do not have kids, right? So he's my baby. So I spent 2 years with my baby nephew, and I loved every moment of it, and I'm never going to regret it because work will happen, come and go, but he will never be one again.
yes.
So I enjoyed it. I was, obviously, it was terrifying, scary, and all that, but I enjoyed it. And for me, COVID was not the first time I was facing death. Right. So that reflection was already there. That what we take very lightly can be taken away like this. So you have to cherish what you have. So yeah, and I did make one or two videos on meditation and all to help people. So I was trying to help whoever I could during that COVID. But other than that, I was actually not really putting in a lot of hard work.
Okay, good. So you took it in a very beautiful way, and life had a wonderful gift for you for
Yes,
those 2 years.
I loved it. I loved it.
As we move towards the conclusion, the funneling of it is three life lessons, Ruchi. At this point, a very beautiful point where we have come in this conversation as well, where what all life threw, you came up and then life decided to give you some joy with your nephew with you for those 2 years. And now, when you look back, three life lessons that you'd like to leave us with.
One life lesson is always ensure that your life is not just about you. You have not taken birth just to take care of yourself. It has to have a bigger purpose. So that is one. And I've learned from my life that once you, no matter how difficult a situation it is, if you make it more than about you, somehow the pain eases. So when I started helping people who were gone through domestic violence, and that is not even my profession, it took away a lot of my pain because I was doing something right, and such beautiful, powerful things have come out of it. So one is life is cannot be just about you. It has a bigger. You have taken birth for a bigger purpose. So just always be clear about that. Secondly, never let anyone else pull you down to their level. Life can throw shit at you. People can be horrible at you, but you always have the choice of how you respond to it, right? So, and your choice is what is going to define who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And that it has become so cliche that it has lost the power it has, but I'll use it. When you make your choices, you're actually creating the story of your life. The third learning I'll say is always be true to who you are, and I'll explain that because it's a very vague statement. In today's world, people are so defined and they do everything how the latest social media trend. The people shy away from talking about things that add meaning to their life and all. I want to say be very clear. At least you should know who you are and what moves you, what rocks your world. And once you're honest about that, you'll be very surprised how beautifully that also turns out. I talk about domestic violence. Anyways, it's not a very easy topic, not a very love topic, right?
Yeah.
Second, I talk about Indian Army. When I started talking about Indian Army and taking interviews of Indian Army generals, I got a pushback from I have I'm connected internationally, so I remember this person from UK actually called me and he said, in his way he was looking. I say, if your army is not really very popular here in UK, so maybe you should rethink it. Now, if I had let that person, I don't care if Indian Army is not liked in UK. I mean, not my problem, dude. For me, Indian Army is a big deal. My life has been defined by an Indian Army. So the thing is, I still have a thriving career. At the same time, since I decide what I want to talk about, I am very pleased with the way my life is turning out because I'm doing something which interests me. Right? So be very true to who you are because at least you owe it to yourself to be honest to yourself. And don't worry, there are 8 million billion people. Someone would like what you're creating. So yeah, like my last post, I made a post about Modi ji. I said, if you have to dream like Modi, dream the Modi way, dream big. And it was with INS Vikrant. And when I wrote it on LinkedIn, someone told me that Ruchi, you might get trolled for this. I said it's okay. I will not tag anyone, but I feel very strongly about this. It has, as of today, 437 likes. It has been shared a couple of times and it has had 1,66,000 views. But if I had let that person tell me that you might get trolled and not shared it, this is who I am. You have to, if you like me, good. If you do not like my product, just block me. But I'm this. And it is important to be true to yourself because you're living your whole life with you.
Ruchi, I can just go on listening to you. There is so much about you that you're bringing forth in this conversation. But what I remember at this point is Annie Frank's quote, which says, everyone has a piece of good news inside them. The good news is you don't know how great you can be, how much you can love, what you can accomplish, and what your potential is. But I think,
Beautiful.
Ruchi Singh, in your life, you know that good news. And
Thank you so much.
God bless you. Continue to inspire to be who you are. Honored to have you on You and I with Rashmi Shetty. And thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
Take care, Ruchi, and continue to inspire.
With that, we come to the end of this weekly quest of You and I with Rashmi Shetty. Do let us know if you know people who make the world beautiful. Write in to rashmi.thethirdeye@gmail.com. That is rashmi.thethirdeye@gmail.com. Come, let's explore this amazing world together, both you and I.